Welcome to the Plant Initiative, where we are building a movement to increase respect for plants. My name is Sue Fager, and I'm a member of the Plant Initiative Board. This is our first podcast, so it seemed fitting to talk with Paul Moss, co-founder and executive director of Plant Initiative. Paul, why don't you tell us more about the initiative?
Great. Thanks, Sue. Really glad to be here today and to speak to whoever is listening to us. Thanks for joining us. So the Plant Initiative was started at the end of 2020, and the purpose of it is to help to support a movement to increase respect for plants. The idea is that for the animal advocacy movement that's been around for a really long time, people have been doing a lot of thought and action on behalf of animals as special beings. And the idea of the Plant Initiative is to start thinking about how can we consider plants also as sensitive beings, as beings that are deserving of respect, and with whom we should be relating in a positive way. So that it was a niche that seemed to be open, and the Plant Initiative was started to help foster connection and interaction between people who would like to see plants be treated better, more respectfully, as we feel that they deserve.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. So tell me a little bit about why you feel like this is happening on the planet right now, because there are other initiatives as well as this one focused on the sensitivity of plants.
Sure. Well, I think there's several reasons why I think that the work of the Plant Initiative is particularly relevant right now. One is that there's been a number of different scientific research studies which have helped to demonstrate how plants are sentient and are communicating and are intelligent and are making decisions. And the more and more that the scientists are learning and communicating that to the public, it raises the issue about what are the ethical implications of that kind of research? What does it mean for us if we think of plants as intelligent or sentient beings? How should we be treating them? Because right now, for the most part in the dominant culture in the West, plants are just treated as objects and as resources. And so can we continue to do that if we realize and understand plants as more sensitive and intelligent beings? Another reason is that there's an ecological crisis going on right now. And right now there's many threats to biodiversity. And if you look at really what biodiversity consists of, most of the living biomass on the planet is actually plants. So if we're concerned with preserving biodiversity on the planet, and we're seeing that it's under threat right now, that's another reason why it's important to include plants in our scope of concern. Okay, so another reason I guess that I would say is that there's more respect for alternative ways of knowing right now. The indigenous people's beliefs and alternative beliefs too, such as intuitive communication with other organisms, with other non-humans, is becoming more and more understood and accepted. And so there's been an openness, I would say, to looking at plants in a different way as intelligent beings and as beings with whom we can have a personal relationship with. So I would say that that's another reason why just in the recent future, that's been more and more concerned with, a concern for people. Another reason here is what happened with COVID. A lot of people have been indoors over the last couple of years and have been, spending more time in their yards, spending more time with their house plants. And I think that that's been another reason why people are thinking about plants in a different way. They're just having more of a connection with them because they've been, in their house and looking outside maybe at the plants, and that's been a positive thing for them in their life. And I guess one last thing is that there's been more and more understanding about the connection between plants and human health and human well-being, including mental and psychological, as well as physical well-being. And there's a lot of research findings that are showing that plants are really essential, and being around plants and being around green space is really important to help people to feel good. And so I think all these factors are kind of combining together, and seeing, seeing what has been the progress that the animal advocates have made over many, many years, and realizing that there's opportunity to do something like that in this timely, way for plants.
I agree with you, Paul. I'm a person who has close personal relationships with my plants and my trees. And what you were saying about plants and human health, I think we can see that reflected in the forest bathing movement as well.
Right. Mhm.
And
Good point.
I also feel like we have so much to learn from indigenous cultures.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that we're, as the majority culture, we're finally at a place where we can hear now. It feels like to me we can hear other viewpoints on relationships with the beings we share the planet with. A little bit, Paul, about how the Plant Initiative accomplishes its work.
As you can see, it's a large challenge to try and have people in the dominant culture view plants differently, and to view them as more organisms with whom we need to live respectfully. And so it's a long run. We're a long game that the Plant Initiative is playing. The roots of the way that many of us look at plants have been really set out for thousands of years, in various, from worldviews that have been dominant in the West for a really long time. And so to try and change those worldviews into something that's more plant positive is going to take time. And so we have a few tools that we're using right now, and that we hope can start this process or nurture the initial steps that we're seeing in this process. And so some of these just include bringing up the issue, consciousness raising, kind of raising the point that, maybe we need to be thinking of plants in a different way, because they deserve that. And then it's also good for us too. So that's one thing, is just general, educational programs, outreach programs. We have a monthly email newsletter that we send out to try and share timely information that's relevant to people that are interested in this topic. So we're kind of trying to build up the baseline of understanding and awareness of this as a topic. Another thing that we're doing is we're awarding grants to organizations whom we feel are doing work that's consistent with our mission, that's consistent with increasing respect for plants. And so we've given out grants for the last 2 years and plan to continue to do that in the future. And you can see a list of the organizations that we've supported on our website. So that's another tool that we have, for helping to increase the amount of voices that might be interested in this area. Then we're also interested in building a network of people. So not just kind of working with the general public in terms of helping them to understand and think about this issue and raising their awareness, but working with others, not just because we're funding them like through grants, but just to build collaboration and partnerships. So I would say that's a third area in which the Plant Initiative is working. But I think it's a long program to try and do something like this. I don't know that there's been other organizations that have tried with this goal of building a movement for plants. And so I think that, the time seems to be right now to engage in this conversation and to, you know, in a collaborative way, try and advance some of these perspectives.
Okay. Any initial findings from the first round of grants that you'd like to share?
You know, in terms of the grants that we've awarded, those were in general helping to fund projects that organizations were already doing, because our grants have been small at $500 each. And so, you know, the kinds of projects though have included, you know, working to, increase protection for certain endangered plant species, you know, to help build networking, to build, you know, informational tools that can help to spread this kind of message. So they've, you know, we're working within the existing parameters of these other organizations. You know, some of them are working on rights of nature. There's been some very interesting work in Minnesota where we're located that is, you know, working with the Indian nations in Minnesota who have already acknowledged the rights of wild rice to thrive in their area, and to help support, you know, them in that work, and to help them in terms of working with disseminating that to other organizations and tribes throughout the country. So we're working with a nonprofit to do that. So there's a lot of different directions, you know, which we're doing. I think we're just trying to identify opportunities where organizations are already doing things that are consistent with what we're interested in, not necessarily in the same context of a plant advocacy movement, but essentially they're doing work that is plant advocacy in their own way. And so we're interested in trying to support them in the kind of work that they're doing.
And it feels like, Paul, what you're saying is we're taking a holistic approach to the work of this organization, and reaching out to organizations that are doing work that fits with our mission, but might be accomplishing their work a little bit differently.
Right. I think that's what a movement is that it really involves a lot of different entities and individuals, all, you know, using their own gifts and talents and perspectives and programs to, you know, accomplish a common goal. I think the work is not yet ready, or it is in process to becoming a movement that is aware of itself as a movement. I think right now it's more disparate, separated efforts that are perhaps, you know, that are hopefully working for similar goals, but don't necessarily perceive themselves in common cause with others. I think what this will evolve into, hopefully over the upcoming years, will be a movement that's aware of itself as a movement and can start to act as a coordinated movement in terms of perhaps specific campaigns that different organizations might want to collaborate on. So I think that we're at the beginning point of a long process of movement building, and I would agree with you, Sue, that we're taking a holistic perspective, and that we're looking at you know, any avenues of people or organizations that are interested in that. And so this could include organizations that are already working on behalf of trees, organizations, you know, that are maybe working on plant conservation of endangered species, working with indigenous people on protecting their land and their culturally important plants, looking at rights of nature. You know, there's all kinds of areas, those interested in protecting herbal plants. You know, there's many areas where it kind of converges, that there's people that care about plants and are interested in plants, but don't necessarily see that as being part of a larger movement. And we're hoping that we'll continue to move in that direction.
Good. Well, then the next question I want to ask feels like a natural segue. What does the future of the Plant Initiative look like? I know we're still early days of the organization, What are your hopes for the future?
Um, Thanks, Sue. I hope that the organization will continue to grow and to involve people that feel this is an important issue, and that we will be successful in elevating the conversation about plant advocacy so that it's an issue that is taken increasingly seriously. Um, I think there's a lot of challenges ahead, and I'm not naive about the entrenched way in which many people are using plants as resources and how they're the base of our economy in all ways. So but I'm hoping and that the Plant Initiative can, through a process of collaboration and awareness building, and network building, start to change the conversation. So that's what I see in the future is continuing in those directions and using perhaps new tools. This is our first podcast, and we hope to have more of these, interviewing different people that have and something that they'd like to share that we feel would be helpful. We are continuing to do online programs. We've done several of these and we'll plan to do more. Perhaps we would even, through collaboration, to be part of even larger efforts. So I think it's to kind of nurture this and to continue to make progress towards this goal. That's the goal. That's my hope.
Excellent. How can people who are interested get involved?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is to sign up for our monthly email newsletter. We send it out usually on the middle of the month. And we feel that, this is we collect information on events and all kinds of opportunities, resources, ways of taking action for plants. So it's a fairly comprehensive newsletter, but it just comes out once a month, and it's a good reference for people. And I think by skimming through that, anyone will get a sense that there's a lot going on and a lot of ways that they can be involved. So I think in terms of, that would be the number one thing I'd say. We also have, actively post on our Twitter and Facebook pages, so you can follow us there. You can certainly, we always appreciate financial contributions if you would like to support us in that way. And that you can do that through our website. And I think just to educate yourself, so that you can, speak about this with others who might be interested. We have on our website some, resources that we're recommending on this topic from all different voices. And, so I would say just to keep learning and to feel free to contact us if you have some resources or events that you'd like us to know about or to share with others. We'd like to be a central informational hub and resource for those who are interested in this topic around the world. A lot of the people that are involved on our lists and have gone to our events are from around the world. And so we see this as kind of a worldwide international effort. So we welcome people really from any country, and to learn more about us through our online tools, to participate in our online programs, and to support us in whatever way you wish.
Thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure discussing the Plant Initiative with you today. I'd like to share with everyone who's listening what our website is. It's www.plantinitiative.org. You'll find information about our projects, how to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, and just get a better sense of, or an expanded sense of, what we're trying to accomplish through this work.
Well, thanks so much. And we'll look forward to perhaps hearing from some of you listeners in the future.